What is religion for you guys? Let's start with Rahul. Why are you religious?
Again, I'll just go back to saying that's you see and learn certain things when you grow up. And my parents were very religious. I saw them pray.
What if you were born in a box?
It would be very different. Of course, it would be very different. It's you are like you said, you are who you are today from the things that you've learned growing up and your experiences, what you watched, and you always have someone you look up to. And as kids, it's generally your parents, and and what my parents did and what I saw. That's what I learned. And as I grew, obviously, like my relationship with God has changed over time. My parents worship, let's say, Shivji, and that's what that's what I was taught. But then as I grew up, like my calling was something else. I might want to go to a Hanuman Mandir or things like that. So then my connection changed.
What do you mean by calling? If you change from,
You find your own faith and beliefs.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
is there a different interpretation of the faith that you're resonating with? When you say you went from a particular temple to another kind of temple, what do you mean by calling? What changed?
I mean, as you grow, as I learned or as I read more about the Hindu religion, our books, and then, at whatever stage you are in your life, you feel like, okay, this is the God that'll, there are gods, right? Like for wisdom, you have a God, for strength, you have a God, for peace and happiness, for everything. There's different gods in our culture, which is great. So like, at each stage when I felt like this is what I'm searching, let's say if peace is what I'm searching, I'll go to a mandir that I feel like can give me that.
Do you go more often to seek forgiveness or say thank you?
Nothing.
ask for something?
Neither. I just like to go and sit, and like I said, I just feel like it reminds me of a time where I had nothing and I could just everything that I've gotten from there on is a blessing and a gift. So I just go there to sit and remember that at times I had nothing, and I should be grateful for everything that I have now, which is very difficult in the line of work we are. We keep forgetting like how much we have achieved, and we only keep looking at our failures and how much more you need to achieve. But sometimes it's good to just sit and look back and think and just say your thanks and say your piece and just go back to those days where you had nothing. So I like that 10-15 minutes.
So is the act of reminding yourself of how far you've come, is that the high when you're at a temple?
It's not a high, but I feel like it's necessary to remind yourself sometimes of what you're here for, what your goal was when you set out when I set out to be a cricketer, or when I wanted
But
to
why
achieve
is
my
it
dreams.
necessary to remind yourself?
I just like having that balance and not getting too far ahead. Sometimes you feel like, oh, I've played cricket for 10 years now. I should be doing this, or I should get into a team like very easily, or I should get my runs and all of that. But
So in your
yeah.
journey of garnering power, think of it as an embellishment or a euphemism of any other word, but you're on step 1, you go to 2, you go to 3, you go to 4, you go to 5. At 5, when you go to a temple and remind yourself of 3, are you hedging your bets against the future event of 6 or 7 or whichever way that might go?
All I'm trying to do is not worry about the 6 and 7. I want to remind.
And it appeases that anxiety in you.
Yeah, it does that. And then you just, like, I don't like having, or I don't like going onto a cricket ground wanting to achieve anything. It's something that gave me joy as a kid, and that's why I started playing the sport. So I wanted to remain as much as possible just about that, about having fun, about, it also has a lot to do with, I was good at cricket. Other things maybe I was not so good at, so I chose this. So I just want to like remind myself that, okay, 6 and 7 is or getting higher is a process that will happen, but don't be desperate about it, or don't go searching for something higher than where you already are. And I've done that in my life, and I feel like being at 5, like he said, if you're at 5 and you think of 3, like, aren't you pushing yourself back? But at times I've tried to,
calms you.
when I'm at 5 and I've tried to go to 10 and I've gone to 0, So that for me, that has happened a couple of times. So I've recognized that it's a pattern, that every time I try to overachieve, or every time I try to, look too far ahead, I miss what's under me, and then I fall down so far that I have to start all over again. So for me, it's nice to just remind myself that, like, where you are is good enough, and be happy with that, and do that for long enough, and then you'll realize, then you'll slowly go to number 6, or then be happy with number 6 for long enough and keep doing that, then you'll achieve 7. It's a slow process, and I'm okay with that. Every time I've tried to, like, get that
too fast.
quickly, life some way, in some strange way, has taught me that's not the right way for me. It might be different for other people. So yeah.
That sounds like a very interesting hack. If I were to be a cricketer, if I go onto the ground not worrying about the outcome, do I tend to play better? Yeah?
Definitely. Again, it's individual. For a lot of people, it's not like that. A lot of people like to, some people like to get angry, and some people like to get into fights, and that gets them going, and that's when they've performed at their best. But for me, that hasn't worked. For me, what works is just to be, like I said, just to walk into the ground, knowing that either things can happen, but you might fail, you might succeed, but yeah, just that unknown is good, and just keeps my foot on the ground, and it doesn't make me anxious about anything.
But can you ever actually put that pressure away off
As
the
much as you
performance?
can. It's not.
Is it possible to put it away?
Not completely, but again, if you think back, at least when I think back, all my good performances have come when I'm in that type of mindset. And then I'm always searching, or like trying to push myself to get in that mindset, but it's not easy. If I've not played well in 2 or 3 games,
The pressure's
then,
more.
Yeah, pressure's more. But then I immediately sit back and think, but if you put yourself under pressure, you're definitely not going to perform in the 4th game. So there's no point. That is the logical reasoning you're giving your own mind from the patterns that you've seen in your life. But your body will not accept that. Your body still wants to feel the pressure when you go.
But
so it's a constant, like, battle hota hai mentally, but as much as possible, I try to take that pressure out of myself. I feel like I create that pressure, nobody else. Like,
Because,
if I perform well or don't
obviously,
perform well, nothing in the
And
country is changing.
when you start performing well on the pitch on that day, it gives you that confidence, and then you would, I'm
Yeah.
assuming, do better.
Yeah.